Why, hello there, a nice tale here. I hope this video finds you well. Today, I'm bringing you a review of this QSP Penguin Glide Lock, one of the most recent variants of this penguin. There have been many a variant. So, without further ado, let's jump into specs, and then we'll start talking about some of my thoughts on this. As this, I will spoil and say that this is what I would consider to be the first and only good knife I've ever gotten from QSP. I have, where is it? It's over here in a drawer, an original Penguin. And I've gotten a couple other knives from QSP that I've all sent back because they're terrible. They were terrible. This one wasn't very good, honestly. They had some really bad issues. This one, not really. I mean, it's got one thing. One thing. I guess they couldn't not do something. But this is the first one where I can say, like, yeah, I see why other people like QSP, because this one seems pretty good. So, I said without further ado, and then made a whole bunch of nonsense. But let's get into specs. You've got 3 1/8 on blade length by the looks of it. You've got 7 1/8 overall, so I'm assuming this is about 4 inches ish. Don't take those exact, but around about there. Comparisons to the small Civivi Elementum and the full-size Civivi Conspirator. And on this channel, small is 3 inches or less. Medium is... well, small is like 3.1, kind of like... This is a small knife. This is a small knife. 3 1/8 is small. Medium is sort of like 3 1/4 and up, and then full size is 3.5 inches, approximately, in blade, which typically relates to how much actual handle and knife you're getting to. The rest of it. As you can see, this is very close to being the Elementum size. It is definitely a small knife. Thickness compared to the Conspirator, and it's, despite this being contoured where the Conspirator is technically not, it is thinner than the Conspirator as well. And our final comparison for actual grip length is the double A battery. And you have not quite 2 double A batteries. You can definitely choke up onto this flat here, but you have basically 1 2/3 double A battery in your basic position and almost 2 double A batteries choked up. I can get a full 4-finger grip on it. It's a little tight back here, but you can do it, and I can definitely go up here and still be pretty comfortable, so I don't think you're going to have too much trouble holding on to the knife. Weight. Get the scale out. Zero the scale out. 3.19 ounces. This is almost an ounce an inch, which is really quite good, especially considering they have all this extra weight in the full steel liners and the crossbar lock. They have done some weight reduction, and they brought it down to being well balanced and pretty much exactly what you want. This is definitely a knife that you can carry if you have ratios in mind. Hardware check. T8 pivot, T6 everything else. Unfortunate, very unfortunate, as I have had issues with T6s from QSP in the past. I will say these ones feel pretty good. They move pretty good. I'm not, like, I haven't had any issue with them. I haven't also taken them apart. I don't like T6s, and this thing does have quite a few of them, honestly. Fortunately, you only really have to probably interface with at least 3 of them. 2 on one side and the pivot, and which is T8, of course. So 2 T6s that you have to interface with to get the knife apart. If you want to flip the clip, however, you have to deal with 4 more, which is kind of crazy. That's definitely a downside, by the way. Too many T6s. Thickness, 482 thousandths, so yeah, it's just under half an inch. 120 thousandths on the blade stock. And behind the edge, for some reason this knife always, well, the original one is always giving me trouble when I'm doing behind the edge calculate. I'm going to call that, I'm going to call it 15 thousandths behind the edge. Give or take a little bit. Probably, it does get a little bit thick, but I mean, it still cuts well, right? It's a full flat grind. It's not the sliciest ever. It probably could be a bit thinner, but it cuts well. It performs just fine. It's a very utilitarian blade shape with this sheep's foot. So it does what it's supposed to do, and the tip is very, very usable, especially. Now that we're done with specs, because that was the last of them, let's just talk about the knife real fast. This version, unlike the original variant, is in 14C28N, which I quite like. I don't hate the original variant in D2 if they do a good heat treat on it at a budget price. And the one thing I think the original variant did do okay was have a relatively decent heat treat on it. So I'm not upset about the D2, but I can imagine a lot of people like the 14C28N better. Corrosion resistance, higher toughness, bit less edge retention, basically. I don't know why they put the code for the knife on there. That was actually not on the original one, if I recall correctly. Hold on, there's a little something right there. Get it? Actually, I don't have to recall correctly. I can tell you for certain. I have the original one right next to me. What am I saying? The blade shape is, I mean, it hasn't changed. There is a bigger notch back here, but that's just to accommodate for the crossbar. Plunge grind is actually really good. Like, they give you a good amount of life, and you can definitely cut in more choil. Very solid there. Finish on the blade, you've got this kind of like very, I don't know, like almost white foggy belt satin here, and then you have this very, very reflective, kind of like snow flurry stonewash. It's actually, I really like this finish they did up here. And of course, just basic sheep's foot, very good for many a thing. Jimping is actually kind of functional here. You have to push into it quite a bit, but it does provide a little bit of traction. They also put jimping here and here. This one doesn't do much. This one actually kind of does. It's not the most comfortable, but it does actually provide a little bit of traction, and it definitely has a tactile, like, lets you know where you are. So, okay. No real complaints there. They did move the QSP logo to the pivot, because that's not the way the original was. I normally don't like giant logos. However, QSP tended to stick their logo really small on the flats. I didn't mind that. This particular logo is one that I don't necessarily love on the pivot. Having multiple letters and the fire and everything like that, it looks too much like it's trying to say something and less more abstract, just logo alone. Civivi manages to do it with just to see, but not my favorite thing. I imagine some people like it because it does keep the blade cleaner. It doesn't bother me. It's just I like the logo real small up there too, so I will give them that credit because I didn't mind that. This knife, unlike the original, is on bearings. In fact, there's a new variant of the original that is also on bearings. I guess I can link that one down below because I'm going to be really linking this one as well. If you should be so interested in like purchasing it or anything like that, I'll give you a link to it. Because, well, again, I already spoiled. I do think this is actually a good knife. So, crossbar lock. I really like how they did the crossbar lock. The Glyde lock, not only is it very, very smooth for a crossbar lock, as like a budget crossbar lock, it's not like crunchy or anything like that, something like they are sometimes. But having this plate here and having this large interface, one of my problems with standard crossbar lock, especially when you start getting to more expensive knives, this is not the case on this one, but I don't think that looks good. Like, I don't want to buy a $300 knife with springs and holes through the knife that look like it's just kind of there to facilitate the function of that thing. This, just makes it look more elegant and clean and functional. So I really like what they did with the Glyde lock here. I like it. I like the function. It works just fine. There is, if you slow roll it, there is a tiny bit of up and down play, but there's a tiny, tiny hint, not necessarily of up and down play, but like wiggle, just like you can feel it wiggling a little bit. Actually, it's gone there, so it's so little that it's sometimes goes and comes. So I mean, it's not necessarily a perfect execution, but it's quite good. I don't really feel like it's going to disengage or fail on me in any way, so it's perfectly fine. And I mean, a lot of crossbar locks have just a little bit of something in there. This one has just that tiniest hint, less than some, honestly. But again, I really do like the execution of the Glyde lock here. Yeah, I'm not too worried about this thing going anywhere now. Where was I? Before I decided to just randomly slam this thing on the table to see if it hold up. Got a lanyard hole. You have... This is a G10... I think they call it a foil G10 for the handle material. And I have to say, I love this material. I really like this. This looks really good. It's really kind of similar to Alatex carbon fiber. Or fiber. I don't know if that's technically carbon. Well, I guess, yeah, they're all carbon fibers, right? It's really similar, but it also looks distinct with the pattern in it. It's really, really good looking. I like this. Like, normally, I don't really buy any super expensive knives that have G10 inlays. If it has micarta, I'll make, and I like the look of the micarta. That's one thing. Carbon fiber, like Damascus and stuff. Yeah, I will go for those, but G10 on an extremely expensive knife is not something I would like to see. I think I'd make an exception with it for this. This is really good looking. I said a lot to say nothing, or very little. But yes, it's really, really good looking. This foil G10, I like it. I've seen a couple companies now using it. It's cool. I like it. It's got a lot of depth, a lot of pattern. And they did a good job here. They did that contouring, very nice and soft, very, very rounded, very nice to interface with. The grip space, of course, and where you can actually hold it, very good and very comfortable because of these rounded edges. Yeah, very nice there. The final thing I have to talk about on this knife is two things. They're unfortunately severe negatives. This clip is not that good. This is not the same clip that they used on the original, first of all. And it's thick and wide, and no matter what you do, it's not uncomfortable. There's no hot spots, no matter how I grip on it. I don't really think there's a little bit of a hot spot right there. But I can get up here and where I would actually probably do the hammer grip and push, and there's no hot spot. But back here, there is a little tiny bit. But It's just thick. You feel the edges. No matter what you do, even if it's not uncomfortable, it's there. It is very noticeable and not great. They did put flat screws underneath, which, great. That is good. But they also gave you a bill out the front. It works. It's got fine flex, fine retention, and everything like that. But it's not the most comfortable. And honestly, just cutting this off and giving you a slight continuous rise would have probably been just universally better in my experience. But I guess they were worried about that poking in your hand, which, considering how wide it is, it might. Honestly, they really just need to rework this clip. This is not the clip from the original. The clip from the original was actually better. Like, just straight up better. Even though they had probably a little more continuous rise on this one that they needed. But, yeah. Not a super fan of this clip. It's not bad. It's not making me dislike the knife at all. It's not making me say the knife's got a problem. But, they went real big on that. They did give you a plate for filler tab to stick on whichever side the clip is not on, but funny enough, underneath the clip it would probably just be... Well, let's take a quick look. I've not checked this out. I imagine just underneath the clip is raw this material, and funny enough, I wouldn't mind seeing this material without a filler tab, because it looks good. What's it look like underneath where it's thinner, though? That's the question. Come on. Okay, the pattern's not as dramatic down there. And those are some big screws. Yeah. Honestly, it's kind of fine with and without the filler tab to me. This isn't one of those ones where it looks better with or cleaner with it, but it's fine either way. And these T6s definitely held up just fine. That's a good sign, right? Don't know what I'm laughing at there. Did you make a joke? No. Why are you laughing? You're an idiot. And back. So the clip's an issue, and one thing I also think is a little bit of an unfortunate issue is these studs. Not only are they different from the original ones, they're hitting the frame, or just about, and they're too tight to it. You can't really get behind them because they don't really have that much of a grip. They're a little bit rounded. Like, it's not the sharpest ones. So I do find myself occasionally feeling like I'm gonna not get enough tension and purchase on them, being where they are. They did give you a little bit of a ramp down to them, but especially for the reverse flick, because, you know, you have to move with crossbar locks. You have to, of course, move your finger sort of out of the way of where the crossbar is, which is normally where I would put my finger. So I'm already at a slight awkward position or disadvantage. They work, but I definitely have found myself flipping off or failing to deploy fully for the reverse flick. It's definitely something you have to get used to. It's I think they could probably find some better studs and place them better. Other than that, however, this knife is also, the one big flaw of this knife is that this is pretty off-center. It does seem to be predominantly in the grind, and if you actually look down the length of the blade, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but I can see that the blade actually sort of wanders this way. So, and it's much deeper ground on this side. So I may be able to get it a little bit more center. I'm thinking it's probably going to be off center no matter what I do. But the blade itself, I think, is mostly centered. So I'm okay with that. That'll be just something, I mean, you never want to see it, but on a budget knife, you're going to get that more often than maybe you even might expect. But other than that, this is a very solid knife. This is $66. And yeah, for the upgrades, for the crossbar lock, for the materials, for what you got here, I think this is a pretty reasonable price for the QSP Penguin. I don't know exactly what the updated Penguin with just the bearings in the pivot, that is the base model, is, but I will link that down below, as I imagine that's even cheaper than this. But overall, yeah, first actual good knife from Gears P, I think. That's decent enough for me to be relatively happy with it. So, that's a nice change. I'm going to end things here, say thank you for watching, and have a great day. And maybe consider liking and subscribing, because I didn't say that any time earlier in the video. Aren't I nice? Don't have to bother you with that. But, that's all for me. See you later. I'm out.